Somebody drove in with a trailer, sideswiped the side of this prime mover, and it took out the door, the pillar, the windscreen, the front grille, and left it in quite a mess. And the customer may not know about it. They've bought it, they've loved it, and now they want to sell it, and now they're finding out that the vehicle has had some sort of repair done to it. And for some people, they just can't believe it. You know, like, how can it happen? But the paint's slightly shallower, so 70 microns. There you go, there's the cockle train. So I was inspecting a vehicle today, and I was asked, what am I doing with one of these? And a lot of people may not have seen these if you've had a vehicle inspected, but you may have seen one of these. In fact, these two things are very similar, and I'll explain why in a minute. However, it is crucial to use one of these to find out what the condition of your vehicle is like in regards to previous accident damage. And the customer said, well, why am I using one of these when he has had the vehicle from new and the vehicle has not been in any accidents? And I had to inform him, and he was quite shocked by this, that sometimes vehicles get injured even before they land into the dealership. Let me give you an example. I used to work in a dealership, and we had a brand new truck. It was unregistered and sat by the front gate. Somebody drove in with a trailer, sideswiped the side of this prime mover, and it took out the door, the pillar, the windscreen, the front grille, and left it in quite a mess. Now, it wasn't unrepairable. There was no structural damage done. However, it did need to go down to the body shop. The door was replaced, the front grille was replaced, the windscreen was replaced, and the side panel was all resprayed. Now, you might say, well, that's okay then. What if it's been resprayed? What's the problem? And if it's been repaired? Now, you might be a bit miffed, though, to find out that your vehicle has already been in an accident before you actually get the vehicle. But I can tell you this now, this happens all of the time. Before you carry on with the video, g'day, my name is Mark, and I started AllInVehicleInspections so that I could use my 25 plus years of experience in the automotive industry to help people confidently buy vehicles. And as you can see, this is the Oscar W. It is an absolutely gorgeous steamboat down here on the Murray River. Now, I do not inspect boats. I inspect cars, vans, trucks, buses, all sorts of other things, which you'll find on my website, www.aivi.au. That's a mouthful. But I do travel mobile, which is what I'm saying. I'm down here in Galway, and it would be great if you could follow and like this page and this video, and also share it with your friends, because somebody somewhere will probably be buying a vehicle if it isn't you, and it would be really good if you could actually get the vehicle inspected in South Australia before you buy it, because that way, if you share this with your friends, you won't have to listen to them complaining that they bought a bad vehicle. All right, on with the video. Sometimes it's because there's been a scratch on the transporter, or in the boat, or even at the factory before it left, or maybe it was in the dealership's car park and somebody backed into it. Now, it could be anything from a very small scratch to quite a big accident. Maybe the truck rolled over. The truck rolled over? Yes, the truck rolled over. You know, those car transporters when they're going down the road. Now, it does happen, and vehicles are then restored back to their to what they looked like before, and then they are sold on to customers. Now, sometimes they are registered and then they go off to auction rather than being sold as brand new. But if it's just a scratch, or it's minor damage, sometimes the panel will be resprayed, and then you end up with the vehicle which hasn't got original paintwork. So what's the issue with not having original paintwork? Well, here's the problem. Original paintwork is a lot harder and longer lasting than any paintwork that it might have afterwards. Also, that paintwork, when it fades, potentially it's going to fade at a different colour. You've all seen those cars around where one panel is quite vastly different to others, and you might think that's because it was resprayed and it just ended up being a different colour. It could be that it was resprayed and it looked perfect, but over time the two different paints reacted differently to the weather, in particularly the sun, and one has faded slightly quicker than the other, making it look quite vastly different. So when you are getting a new vehicle, or when you're buying a vehicle, whether it's used or new, it is worth checking out whether the vehicle has been in an accident or has been resprayed. And how do we do that? Well, we use a paint thickness gauge. I showed you these earlier. I'll show you how they work in a minute, and why I think this one is better than this one, and why is it that this one should be used all of the time and why I think it's way better than just one of these in a picture. Anyway, let me explain what they do. Down at the bottom here, you can see these two. There's a round metal plate and a little ball in the middle. See that? This one's a plastic plate with a ball in the middle. And if you can see, if I can just push it there, you see that moves up and down. That makes contact with the surface of the paint, and it uses an ultrasonic signal to go down through the paint to the first layer of metal. And once it hits the metal, it bounces back, and it knows how far it can travel, and therefore it can calculate how thick the paint is. Now, the paint can be done in millimeters. We all know millimeters, right? Millimeters, centimeters, etc. Or it can be measured in microns. That's what this funny little symbol is just here. So we can measure in microns. Now, now he says, just taking a little swallow. Now, it doesn't really matter which one they are. The question is the paint uniform all the way around the vehicle? But let me just show you how these work. So here are the paint thickness gauges, and this one here, let's just cover this one first. The measurements are on the screen here, and up here is a light to tell me whether it's within spec. Now, whether it's in spec or not is up to my interpretation and how I report that back to you. And you'll see why I'll say in a minute why I think that one is better than that one. But let me just show you how it works. Basically, all you do is you pop it down onto the bonnet. You see it beeps, little green light says, yeah, I think I'm within spec, and I get my reading. That's 88 microns on that bonnet there. Now, if the paint thickness is good, I basically find out by going all the way around the bonnet and make sure there's no variation between it, no big or small variation. And then I am the one that then reports back to say what I think. Normally what you'll see is a picture of that on a bonnet, and then just like that. And it doesn't really mean a lot. And let me show you why I think this one is a better option. Now, you'll see on this one, there is no digital screen. And the reason for that is because it records it on my phone. Let me show you how this one works. I'm going to take another part of the bonnet, put it on there, and you can see there's about 80 microns. I'm going to keep getting toots here. I might actually have a train coming down. I'm actually down at Galway. Look at that, that's an old steamboat, the Oscar. And have I got a steam train coming? No, it's just, is it the Cockle train, I think? There you go, beautiful. All right, he's going to keep tooting at me, which is really helpful. Alrighty, so I am, so on here, if I take a reading of the wing, he is noisy. There you go. The wing is slightly, the paint's slightly shallower, so 70 microns. There you go. There's the Cockle train, I think. People wave, children waving. That's brilliant. Guards waving. Excellent. That's golden. They're having a whale of a time down there today. Alrighty. Now, I'll show you why I think that is better, but I'm going to go inside because it's noisy out here. So when I give a paint report, this is what you should be expecting from any other vehicle inspector, is this. See that? That is a paint depth report all around the vehicle, okay? And it compares the vehicle from a high to a low, and it's comparing it. Is the paint too thin? Is it too thick? i.e., has it had a second coat? Has it got a thin layer of putty? Has it got a thick layer of putty? Or in other words, has the vehicle been resprayed? Has it been repaired and resprayed? Or has the paint got very thin, maybe because of the sun, or perhaps maybe the customer has buffed it and buffed it and buffed it and buffed it to the point that there is very little paint left on it. So let me just show you the report, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So you see, this is what we're trying to do with this gauge, here. We're taking measurements and then we have to do it in our heads, whereas with mine, I don't have to do it in my head. It's recorded straight on here. Now, you can see this vehicle here. See those yellow panels? Those panels have got a thin layer of putty underneath, and they've been resprayed. So you can say that vehicle at some point has been repaired for some reason. Whereas, let me just show you there. That one there, the paint is much, much thicker. And along the top here, let me see if I can show you, that red one there is really, really thick, which means at some point there's been some putty being put into it to repair some damage. And given that that's on the body of the car, that's really not very good. So these paint reports are fantastic. They're a great way to be able to go to the customer and say, hey, look, the vehicle at some point has been repaired. Now, be kind and courteous over this when you're having these discussions, because they may not be lying to you. The vehicle itself, as I explained earlier, in the dealership may have had an injury, or it might have happened on the truck, it might have happened on the boat, it might have happened while it was in the car park. I've said all this, but the ultimate thing is at some point it's been injured and the customer may not know about it. They've bought it, they've loved it, and now they want to sell it, and now they're finding out that the vehicle has had some sort of repair done to it. And for some people, they just can't believe it. You know, like, how can it happen? But having worked in a dealership, I'll tell you this now, vehicles quite often do sustain some damage and end up being repaired. But you're going to end up bearing the cost when that front panel fades, because they're going to want to know what happened. Or it's going to devalue your vehicle too. So you want to negotiate that price down now, rather than finding out that you're going to lose more money when somebody else gets the vehicle inspected. That's the whole point of getting the vehicle inspected. The other thing as well is that if that vehicle has sustained quite serious damage and been repaired, sometimes if it's had a fair knock, it can put the suspension out of line, it can put tension on wiring harnesses, and you can end up with ghosts in the machines or tyres scrubbing out more than they should. And sometimes that's just because of, not necessarily because of a bad repair, it's just what happens, unfortunately, when vehicles are repaired. So I would try and stay away from vehicles that have been repaired if they've had nasty accidents. Shopping trolley hits, perfectly fine, but just remember, a respray isn't going to be as good as the original and could fade at a different point. So there you go. That's why we are checking for it. It's the reason why vehicles can get injured prior to somebody having it, and why it is that they may not know it's had an accident, and why you should be kind and courteous to everybody. Take them on face value. They may not be telling porkies at all. They may be telling the truth, and they could be as shocked and bemused as you are. And trust me, I've had a few of those customers trying to explain to me that it can't be because they've had it from you. But yes, sometimes in dealerships, we do repair them before we get there. So there you go. If you want one of my inspections in South Australia, www.aivi.au, and you will get a U-boot inspection. And we'll actually tell you the report, or give you a report of the actual condition of the vehicle so you can see it for your own eyes rather than believing me from a picture and some numbers on a screen. Alrighty, take it easy. I will see you next time, and happy hunting for the vehicle of your dreams.